I'm here at Cape 2025 with our celebrity guest, Dylan Playfair.
Hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for coming over and saying hi.
I'm doing good. I was just here to ask you a few questions. Is that all right?
Sure, absolutely.
I was just wondering, what was it like growing up in a big hockey family? I heard that like, your dad, your uncle were pretty big players.
Yeah, it was cool. I spent a lot of time around the dressing rooms, a lot of time in hockey rinks. I have two younger brothers, Jackson and Austin, and they both play hockey as well. So we played hockey in the cities that we were living in. We spent a lot of time again with my dad's teams, and we loved going to hockey games. So it was really cool to see my dad on the bench and then on TV, and it was definitely a different kind of a childhood. We moved around a lot because in hockey you don't always start out in the NHL. We start out in lower leagues. So he coached in the East Coast League, he coached in the American League and the International League, and then he got to the NHL. And every time he'd change teams, we would move. So I got to see a lot of North America, and I got to meet a lot of new people all around the country. It was a fun way to grow up.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool. And given that, I imagine maybe there's some expectations to be a hockey player, but
Yeah.
like, how'd you get into like the acting industry? What sparked that interest?
So I'd always really loved acting. I'd always really loved film and television, specifically comedies. So in the summertime, after the hockey season was over, we would go back to our family cottage in northern BC. And we didn't have cable or internet at that time. So what we would do for fun, if we weren't hanging out outside and on the beach or boating around or playing in the woods, we would watch movies and TV shows that we would rent from the Blockbuster. So I always really, really loved actors and movies and television. So I thought my plan was to play in the NHL, and then when I retired from the NHL, to start acting. But then when I was 19, I decided that I didn't want to wait and that I wanted to start acting right away. And I talked to my dad about it, and he said, whatever you do, find something that you love and it won't feel like work. So I stopped playing hockey, as far as wanting to be a professional when I was 19. And I moved to Vancouver, and I started going to classes, started taking auditions, and I still play hockey with my friends. I still play recreational hockey, but acting has definitely become my main focus.
With that, is there any like sort of standout roles in your acting career that you really like to do?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I really enjoyed every project that I've ever been a part of. The very first movie I ever booked was called Mr. Hockey: The Gordie Howe Story, which is kind of appropriate coming from a hockey family. And I played Marty Howe, Gordie Howe's oldest son. So that movie was cool because it was really close to my own life story. And then I booked a series called Some Assembly Required, which is really fun because, again, I talked about liking comedy so much, and that was a really silly, really fun kid show. So it was a live studio audience. I got to really learn a lot of things about acting that I didn't before because we filmed so many episodes. And then Letterkenny is a show that a lot of people in Canada know quite well because it's very, very funny. It's very Canadian, and people seem to really resonate with that show. And then Descendants is probably, as far as the size and the scope of the project, probably the biggest one that I've done because it was through Disney, and Disney released the movie, all across the world. So now I have fans in South America and Europe and Asia and the United States and Canada. So they're all special for different reasons, but I think those are probably the ones that really hold a special place in my heart.
Yeah, it's always nice to see like Canadian actors making it big. I've talked to friends, and pretty much every one of them liked a different thing from you. And with that, is there any sort of like particular actors or directors you'd like to work with again?
Yeah, I really loved working with Jacob Tierney. So Jacob Tierney directed all of Letterkenny, which is really cool because it's not really common to have the same director on every episode of a TV show. Usually you have different directors for different episodes. So working with the same one over and over, you build a real rapport with them. So you can sort of figure out what it is that they like, and it becomes a lot easier as time goes on. I loved working with Kenny Ortega, who was the director of Descendants. And, honestly, there's a long list of comedic directors that I would love to work with. I think whenever you have a director that collaborates, that can help you do the thing that you do well in their world, it's a team, right? Like a film set in a TV show is very similar to a hockey team in the sense that everyone has a role, and you kind of have to trust each other to do that role so that the finished product or the game turns out well, right? So I like working with team-minded directors.
So it seems like hockey did pay off with your acting.
Oh yes, very much so. I owe so much of where I am today to the game of hockey and to the philosophy of hockey and to how my dad talked about hockey. Being a coach, he had a little bit of a life lesson for everything, and it usually roped back to hockey somehow.
Yeah, and with that, is there any sort of like particular heroes? You seem to speak highly of your dad, but whether it's him or just anyone else, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, let me think about this. Hockey player-wise, I really loved watching PJ Stock. He played for the Boston Bruins, and the reason why I liked him so much was he was a smaller guy, but he worked really, really hard. He was really, really tough and scrappy, but he was also good with the puck. And I always thought, being that size and being that scrappy, he must really, really love what he does, and he must really work super hard. So I kind of followed my hockey career after him, and then again translated it into film. And then you look at guys like Mike Myers, another Canadian guy who's done really well in the film world. Anyone who kind of has a dream and just pursues it and comes from a situation that maybe from the outside looks like it would be really hard to make it, And I think a lot of Canadian actors have this stigma that it's really hard to make it out of Canada, to make it big in Canada. But again, I think it really comes down to finding those people who support you and believe in you. And you don't do it alone. You do it with a group of people. So finding those folks who have sort of laid that groundwork for me. Taylor Kitsch is another one, hockey player turned actor, really talented guy. He was in Friday Night Lights and Lone Survivor. And I mean, you can find inspiration almost anywhere if you look hard enough.
That's great to hear and all that really motivational speech there. But is there anywhere you're sort of going from here? Any sort of projects? Like, what's the plans?
Well, I would love to start creating my own stuff. So Letterkenny was created by Jerry Kiso, who's been a friend of mine for a very long time. He was one of the first actors that I met in Vancouver, and he helped me a lot when I first started. So his idea of when a friend asks for help, you help them. And I think he saw how much I loved acting, and I also, again, I keep talking about hockey, but there's a lot of common ground there, Yeah. But he had this idea for Letterkenny, and he really thought it was funny, and he really believed in it. And that's a really big part of having success in anything, is if you really believe in it and you work hard at it, people can see that, and I think it gives people confidence to give you the opportunity to make it. So I would like to make my own TV shows. I would like to make my own movies. I just finished producing one of my first feature films with my wife and a group of really talented filmmakers called Breeder, and that's going to be a thriller. We shot that in Vancouver. Our production company, Crystal Mountain Films, was a part of that, and it's kind of step one on a long list of projects that I would like to help bring to life, because this is a job that I don't think you've ever really done. I think you got to keep doing it over and over again for a long time, and I'm not doing this for there's no finish line for me. It's not, once I get that movie made or once I have that show finished, then I'm going to retire. I want to act until they wheel me off set, whether it's in a chair or in a box. I love this. I want to do it forever.
I see. You really seem to be a rather determined person. Overall, pretty chill too. It's been nice talking to you, though.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that very much. It was really easy to talk to you. I appreciate you coming over and taking the time.
No problem.
Right on.